Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a new landlord, or just curious about property investing, this is the podcast for you. Sponsored by the Co-Living Collective, your trusted partner in creating vibrant and sustainable shared living experiences. Visit us at colivingcollective.com.au to learn more.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show. I'm your host Neil Gibb, and today I want to talk to you about the end-to-end process of new build construction, and whether you are doing a new build 4-bedroom 2-bathroom property for yourself to live in, whether you're building a HMO, an NDIS, or any other single or double story property. We won't go into apartments because that's not really my forte or my boat house. But the process for building a single story house or a double story house is very similar. And the reason that I want to deliver this information for you today is because I feel it's really relevant to what is happening out there in the market. And what is happening out there in the market right now is because the established market is so tight, more and more people are now starting to change to new build construction, or starting to turn to new build construction because they are sick of missing out on properties. They've got FOMO. They've put 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bids in on established properties and been beat on all of them, and mainly previously by East Coast investors that have just come in cash unconditional or with not as many terms as what a Western Australian person who maybe wants to live in that property or maybe wants it as an investment property themselves in WA. So these people are now moving into new build because they see that the market is on its knees still. We've still got a massive shortage of housing. We've still got a lot of people living in the state looking for accommodation, and it's going to get worse before it gets better because more and more people want to move to this country and we just cannot build houses fast enough. Right now, I'm just looking at the UDIA Residential Property Market Report, which they pull from CoreLogic, and their Perth new build median house price in April 2024 was $630,000. That's up 15.6% year on year. $630,000 for a median house and land package in Perth. That's a lot of money, guys. Right, but people are moving into this space because you're just getting priced out of everything else and they're sick of it. And because more and more people are moving into construction space now, that's going to put more pressure on the construction side of things. And what that will create is potentially more build price increases because there's going to be pressure on the builders to deliver. We still don't have enough trades. Supplies are coming through. I mean, look, we've just done a home opener at an SDA property that we've just completed. We took some investors and some clients through so they could touch and feel and get an understanding of what these properties look like when they're finished. And what I noticed is a lot of people were asking me questions about how the process works, the construction process, and how fast we can build. Now, we poured a slab in December on one of our SDA properties, and we are in between PCI and handover now. In this podcast, I'm going to take you through the different stages of getting market ready, finance, approvals, construction. I'll spend a chunk of the time on construction so you understand the different stages. I'll also talk about the fire and safety sign-off, and I'll talk about the furniture pack install as well. So you get the full end-to-end picture of what that's going to look like, right? But the reason I want to do this is because on the land snapshot, from UDIA, we have the median, the average price per lot sold in Western Australia is up 25% over 12 months ago. Now, yes, the market's going in that direction, but because the market's going in that direction, there's not enough lots available. Land developers are difficult to deal with at the minute. They are cranking prices up 10, 15, 20 grand overnight. If we say we've got a buyer for them, we go back the next day with a contract and they're like, oh, by the way, guys, the price has just gone up 10 grand. They've got the monopoly right now, right? And the reason that that's happening is because there is 3,063 lots sold at the 5-year peak. So there's 54% more lots sold than there was 12 months ago. 54%. The average lot size is actually shrinking. It's down to 364 square meters. It's down 1.1%. Not the end of the world. Look, you can get a really good size property on a 375 square meter block. 450 would be my preference, especially if it was my principal place of residence, 450 to 500. However, 375 square meters, we can get a 6-bedroom, 6-bathroom HMO on 375 square meters. The problem that we're seeing right now is there's only 457 lots available on the market that are titled. That's not a lot of lots, a lot of lots. And coming through the pipeline, they reckon there's a lot of them coming through. In fact, as of June 2024, they reckon that there's 24,000 lots coming through the pipeline. That's good news, right? Because we need land to be released so that people can build houses. Right now, some of our clients are signing up to do HMO new builds, and they are putting deposits down on blocks of land that titles aren't going to be released for another 3 to 6 months. That's how bad it's getting at the minute. Now, the problem that we're going to see is when all this land gets released, during the COVID construction boom that we had, a lot of builders went bust. And unfortunately, these are just good, hard-working people that were trying to build a better future for themselves. They got caught out by these building booms. They signed a fixed-price build contract at $300,000 to build a property, but it actually cost them $400,000 to build that property, and it took them 18 months to build it. So they lost a lot of money on a lot of construction. Unfortunately, these people went out of business. They're going to struggle to get back into business as a builder. And therefore, we've got less builders in the market now, which again is going to drive prices up, guys. So if you're thinking about doing new build construction, it's still a good time to do it. I don't think you've missed the boat, but like I've said this many times on the podcast. I've said this many times across my social media channels that when the interest rates drop down and the RBA have just put their cash rate on hold for another month, fantastic news. But once it comes down, guys, and people get their borrowing capacity and their serviceability up, the stampede will come. The stampede of investors and people that couldn't buy but then all of a sudden can buy will come, and it will get a lot worse before it gets better. I've said that many a times as well. Okay, so the process that we work with within the business, and whether this is me doing an investment for myself, whether it's us helping a client do the investment on their behalf, like partner with them, hold their hand through the process, or whether this is just any other investor out there or homeowner, this is the steps that you need to take, right? And number one, we call it get a market ready. And I got this from Dimpner. It makes sense. You don't want to go out there and start looking for stuff until you know, A, you can actually buy it, and B, what you can actually afford to spend, right? So getting market ready means that you sit down with your finance specialist, your broker, and you go, I want to buy a property. What is my borrowing capacity? First thing they're going to say to you, are your taxes up to date? If they're not, get them up to date. I'm trying to get mine up to date. I'm the worst person for admin, but my taxes are getting up to date now. I get them up to date so I know what my 23-24 was, and that can help me when I'm applying for finance for projects moving forward in 25-26 financial year. Are your taxes up and set and in order? Because that's the big thing. The bank want to know what you earned the year before, right? Then you're going to get what we call a letter of eligibility. It's essentially pre-approval. So the broker will say you can buy either an established property up to this price point, or you get a house and land package up to this price point. This is based on what you earn, how much debt you've got, and what's the other thing? How much you earn, how much debt you've got, and that's it. 2 ways to improve your borrowing capacity. 2 ways to get more money from the bank, reduce your debt, whether that's investment debt, bad debt, any debt. You have a debt to income ratio, which we won't go into on this podcast. Maybe it's something for another episode. And the other way to borrow more money from the bank is to earn more money, because they want to make sure that you're going to pay this money back, right? So you get your pre-approval from the bank. Now you are market ready. Now, if you're going to buy an investment property and you're buying it inside a particular entity or structure, we'd also need to get that set up for you as well. If you're going to buy your principal place of residence, you're probably going to buy it in your own name anyway to get the capital gains tax exemption for when you do sell in the future. So you've got your pre-approval from the broker and you've got your trust structure set up. You are now market ready, And because when you're approaching land agents nowadays, or even real estate agents, you can go to them and say, look, I'm ready, guys. I've got my pre-approval here. I'm ready to rock. I want my offer to be presented to the seller so that they know that I am a legit buyer. Next steps, when you're market ready, this is when you start the search for whatever you're going to do. Let's just keep it easy for this podcast. You're going to start the search for your block of land for your HMO investment property. Two things are going to dictate this. Excuse me. Two things are going to dictate where you look for your block of land for your HMO new build. A, your price point, what your pre-approval allows you to do. There's no point looking for a block of land in Dalkeith, for instance, Nedlands, any of these western suburbs. If you've only got a budget, that'll get you 15, 20 k's off further out from the CBD, right? There's nothing wrong with that. We've all got to start somewhere. But you're going to save yourself time once you know how much you can spend, and that'll limit, or that will set your search criteria, because you can reverse engineer what you can spend on your land. And let's say your broker says to you, look, you've got $900,000, your block of land is going to cost, let's say your construction is going to cost you $600,000, so you've got $300,000 left to spend on land. The other thing that they're going to look at is the deposit that you've got as well, whether that's 10 or 20%. Ideally, you want to put down 20% to avoid lender's mortgage insurance. But in this market, with the way the market's going, there's nothing wrong with a 90% loan to value ratio. One of the finance specialists that we work with actually said, well, 90% today is 80% tomorrow, the way the market's going. That means the market is moving in the right direction. And yeah, your LVR position will be changing. So you're going to select your location, and then you're going to test the market to see if there's demand out there. Now, because we've been investing in this style of product for almost a decade now, 2014 was when I got into real estate, 2015 is when we started doing HMOs. So almost a decade of investing in HMOs now. God, make myself sound old there, don't I? I am 42 now though, so I am kicking on a bit. Not a young spring chicken like I used to be. You're going to select your land. We know where you want to put it. We want to test the market. How do we test the market? Now, a quick, easy example for you guys at home who don't have access to the data and the insights and the intel that we do would be to check some different websites. Now, you can check flatmates.com. That's a pretty good, solid website. It's actually owned by realestate.com. They used to have a little share button on the website there, and you used to click on share. I'm not sure if it actually still does. You used to click on share, and it used to take you through to flatmates.com. Now, share has gone now altogether. Might be just missing that, but for years I've just gone on flatmates.com. You can also check on Facebook Marketplace and just see what's for rent in a certain area, and see what the room rates are on them. Now, the way the market is at the minute, there's people out there that are asking ridiculous amounts of rent for properties, for rooms, and you're seeing a lot of people renting out rooms in just their spare bedroom in their house, right? And after helping thousands of people move into affordable accommodation under the HMO property code banner and the living rooms banner, what we've come to find is that a lot of people don't like living with the owner of the property. Why? Because it's their space that you're in. When you're living in a HMO, it's everybody's space, right? Nobody's the owner of the property that lives at the property, and it's professionally managed, and you have to adhere by house rules. But if you're renting a room from somebody else, then you're walking on eggshells, and you have to adhere by their rules, not the house rules. And yeah, so people prefer to live in HMO accommodation over living with somebody else. The other thing to check when you're comparing what your room rates can be in this area is make sure you're comparing apples with apples. If you're going to build a new build HMO, and it's going to have an ensuite in and potentially a kitchenette, it's going to be fully furnished with all new furniture, and it's going to look schmicko, and then you can see somebody else has just got a real daggy picture, the bed hasn't even been made, there's a pair of underpants on the floor. True story, guys, I've seen this before, couldn't stop laughing. I was like, at least pick the underpants up off the floor before you put the photos online, guys, you know what I mean? Open the curtains and use a decent camera. Like, we get professionally took photographs from all of the properties that we do. But the iPhone will do the job for you. You don't need to spend $600, $700, $800 on professional photography if you're a beginner in this space, right? Take multiple pictures from different angles of the same room using your HMO, using your iPhone, and make sure the windows are up, make sure the lights are on, just make sure it's bright and it looks appealing, right? If you are looking at these dark, daggy things, just monitor how long they're on the market for. Like, keep checking every week, see if the price is dropping. If your accommodation is going to be better than theirs, make sure that it's priced higher than them in your feasibility. If your accommodation is going to be worse than theirs, then you probably shouldn't be doing this strategy, guys, because it's all about providing quality accommodation to the market that people are proud to rent. So bang these figures into your feasibility. We've gone through feasibilities before, so I won't go into it too far, but you put your house and land package price, so your land plus your construction plus your stamp duty plus your holding costs, and then you're gonna at the back end of that you want to put your room rates in. So room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, you can either put it in as one lump sum or put them in as individual room rates. Times that by 52, take away a vacancy rate from there, maybe 5%, which is 18 days per annum per room. Then take away your mortgage payments, take away your bills, factor in between $18,000 and $20,000 in today's numbers. That's going to give you your net cash flow figure. If you're using the lenders that we work with, currently they only have a principal and interest 25-year term. And check this out, guys, the HMO property code, because of the volume that we do and the connections that we've made and the relationship that we've made, we've approached these guys and said, look, some of our investors don't want to be principal and interest, some of them want to be interest only, and we are so close to getting 5-year interest only loan term from these lenders, and we'll be the only people in Australia that have it. Pretty cool, eh? Right, so the numbers stack. We found our house, we found the block of land, we know there's demand in the area, the feasibility looks schmicko. What are we doing now? Well, this is where it starts to get a little bit more complex, right? Because we've got to start piecing all of the jigsaw together. We've got a land contract, we're going to put the offer in on the land. We've got a signed land contract from the seller and from yourself. You also need a build contract from the builder. Now, again, if you work with us, we've got all this systemized to a degree where it's a speedy process. But if you're going to do this on your own, you might need to get your block of land under contract. Then you're going to have to speak to your builder and you're going to have to get them to do a design for you. You're going to have to get them to price it up for you. And then you're going to have to get them to populate the build contract and give you the specs and addenda so that you can lodge the build contract, the specs and addenda with your land contract for finance approval. During that finance approval, there's two things that can happen. The builder, there is two things that can happen, right? During that approval, during the finance approval stage, we're going to have to lodge for either development approval if your design is not deemed to comply with the residential design codes. If it is, then we can just go straight to build permit, right? And that's a 10-day approval. If you get CDC, your builder can probably help you with that as well. So once you lodge in your finance, the builder will probably send you an invoice for what's called a PPA. Now the PPA actually comes a little bit earlier than that. They'll charge you a PPA for the preparation of plans agreement, which is to get your drawings, your specs, your working drawings, everything that you need for your finance application. So apologies, I've jumped a step there, guys. Signed your land contract with the land agent, sign the PPA with the builder will go off and prepare your plans and everything else that you need for lodgement. You then package them up and give them to your broker applies for your finance. Your builder will also tell you whether you need to go through the planning department or whether we can just go through to build permit. Now once you've got that lodged with the finance team, what you can do if you're proactive and your builder is proactive is you can start working on the next stage. So the builder's going to send you a deposit or an invoice for a deposit which is between 5 and 6%. This covers things like design finalization, it covers engineering, it'll cover CDC, which is certificate of design compliance, yep. It's been a while since I've actually unpacked these acronyms. We just roll them off the tongue now because we do it every day. You get your engineering, you get your CDC, and you lodge that with council as an approved application, and council have to approve it within 10 days because your CDC is by a building surveyor who says that these plans fit the residential design code, and all you guys need to do is just a paper exercise now to approve the application. Then what will probably happen is there'll be a hold until you get your finance approval. Some of the lenders we use will do a commercial valuation. Excuse me guys, I've got a bit of a tickly throat. Some of the lenders out there, well, the only lenders in the HMO space use commercial valuations to give these properties their true valuation, right? And all of the stuff that we're doing now is hitting full val, and the lender will lend you 80 or 90% of that valuation, right? So that the valuer will need to go out to site, they'll take some pictures of the site, they'll come back, they'll compile a report. This is between $3,000 and $3,500. They'll package that up, they'll give that to the bank, and the bank will then lend against that valuation. You then settle on your block of land. Ta-da! Pop the champagne, but this is where the hard work starts, right? Because once we've got that block of land, this is when we start paying holding costs on that. We need to start moving fast. We need to keep the builder accountable, but at the same time, we don't want to piss them off by just being too hard on them, right? Because these guys do this day in, day out. If this is your first time or second time, you know, there's nothing wrong with keeping them accountable, but just don't be too hard on them. Don't be a dick, right? Like, we're all just people that are trying to do the best we can do with the time we've got and the time in the day that we have available. So you've settled on your block, they're going to go out, they're going to prep the site, right? If it's in a greenfield area that someone like Nigel Satterley or Stockland has developed, site prep's going to be minimal, right? If it's a block that somebody else has subdivided and it's just been sat there for a while, it might be overrun with weeds or something. They might need to bring a excavator or a bobcat in to scrape it and get rid of all the weeds off the top. Sometimes if you don't do that, council reach out to you as well and say it's a fire hazard and they want you to send somebody through to tidy it up as well. We've had that a few times. Right, and then we are going to start prepping everything for the slab stage. And this is where it starts to get expensive, right? Because every time the builder finishes under the stage, they're going to send you an invoice for the total bill contract price or a percentage of that total bill contract price. You then give that to the bank pays the builder, and you start paying more interest to the bank. So at slab stage, we are going to be going for land prep and foundation work and pour the slab. So if there's any work that needs to be done, they'll have to take dirt out if they need to. They need to level everything. They need to put the footings in. The footings are the bits around the outside of the slab, and then they pour the slab over the top of that. The footings are underneath where all the brick walls are. So where there's no brick walls sitting on the slab, there's not a lot of weight bearing there. The bricks will sit on top of the footings. The footings are a lot deeper than the actual slab. They take all the weight. Now, I'm not a builder, guys. If we want to get technical, I can get a builder in here. We can go through this in even more detail. This is just me taking you through high level sort of what it's going to be, right? So your slab goes down. Woo! Party popper. You're going to get the slab invoice from the builder, and that's going to be around 15% of your total build contract price. You're going to sign that. You're going to then on-pass that to the builder, to the bank. Sometimes the bank will send a QS out, quantity surveyor, just to make sure that the slab's being poured. The quantity surveyor will go back and say, yes, it's down, send some pictures. The bank will then pay the builder, and then your holding costs increase every month. Next is the walls, or we call it plate height. Plate height is to the top of the walls, because it comes a bit of a plate. So the framing stage or the brickwork stage to get you to plate height is to construct the walls, put all the door frames in, put the window frames in, and it'll get you to either plate height of your first floor, the top of your brickwork for the I'm going to say first floor here because I'm going to talk about a second story if we're going double story, right? If it's just a first floor slab, they'll just go to plate height. You'll get the invoice for your plate height brickwork. That's around a 20% payment, 20% of your total contract price. If you're going to build a double story house, then what's going to happen is they're going to put another slab on top of that plate, and then they're going to build more walls on top of that slab. So you'll end up with 2 slab invoices and 2 brickwork / plate invoices. Now the payment terms and the where I've said there, the brickwork is 20% of your total contract price. If it's double story, that might be a little bit more, or there might be like 15% for brickwork and another 10% potentially for the 2 slabs that they put in. That will be detailed in your contract, and at the very start, and I think it's like the 2nd or 3rd, maybe the 4th page of the build contract, where it tells you the different drawdown stages and how much they're going to be. Next stage after that, we're going to put the roof on. So the roof trusses go on, the roof cover goes on. That's another 20%. Hang on, I've got my numbers all mixed up here. Yeah, it might be another 15 to 20% of the total contract price. Once your roof's on, then we can be what's called at lockup, right? So once your roof's on, next stage we're going to do some internal cladding. They're going to start putting gyprock up on ceilings. They're going to render the walls, and then they're going to put the external windows and doors in. And this is when you're at what's called lockup stage. This means that they've locked the property now. Somebody's got a key to get in and out of it, and the property is technically secure. Because once it's secure, you're going to get another invoice from them, which is around 20-25% again. You're going to sign that, you're going to give it to the bank, the bank's going to pay the builder, then you're going to be starting to get charged more interest. Now, in my experience, this is where construction starts to slow down. And the reason for that is, up until this stage, the builders have only really had to manage the concrete guys, the bricklayers, the roofers, and potentially a sparky and a plumber to come in and just do their first fix / roofing. I hate that word, roofing. First fix sounds so much better. Once you get to lockup stage, then there's multiple trades that need to be managed. Carpenters need to come in and do kitchen fit outs. They need to install bathroom cabinets. They need to install architraves and back molds around doors, skirting boards, for instance. Plumbers need to come in and they need to do their second fix potentially. Tilers need to come in. Painters need to come in. So all of a sudden they've gone from just managing one trade that just smashes out a big bulk of work. And this is why you generally get from slab to lockup really, really quick. And then sometimes internal fixings can take 50 to 60, sometimes 70% of the time of the job, because there's just multiple trades to manage. And if one trade doesn't turn up, it can potentially knock out the process of the next few trades that need to come in. And then if you have to move that person in before the other people can do their work, then they might have to reschedule their in, and it just has a massive domino effect. And all it can take is one trader being sick, somebody getting caught up in another job and not getting to your job in time, and it just knocks everybody's flow right out. So once you do all your internal fixings, your tiling's done, it's all being painted, your flooring's down, it's looking schmicko, this is when you're going to get your last invoice. And you're going to move, not your last invoice, your second from last invoice, sorry. And then you're going to move to what's called PCI, or practical completion. Practical completion is where either yourself or you can engage a building inspector to come through and do all of the inspections to make sure it's built right. A building inspector will make sure it's built to the correct standards. If it's just you going through, you're going to look for defects like scratches on walls, cracked tiles, paint colours being right, flooring down, any work that you're not happy with. The builder then has 10 days from that practical completion inspection to fix up them defects, and then you can get the property handed over to you. Now, because of the trade shortage in that sort of area at the minute, this is where we're seeing a little bit of bottleneck still at the minute. Getting trades back after that PCI to handover stage to just come back and, it might only be a 20-minute job, but they might be like north side of the river and this might be south of the river or something like that. It might just be really difficult to get back to do a quick little job. Granted, they should do the right thing and turn up and do this, but look, people are humans, right? So get to the point where you are happy with everything. It's been handed over to you. Fantastic. Next stop or next step, next stop in the process is for the HMO side of things. We would do our fire and safety installation and sign off, and we would also do our furniture pack installation and staging and styling ready for professional photography. Now you can get your builder to put the fire alarms in and the interconnected lights and stuff like that. You can also supply the door handles that you want on your HMO as well, and they can install them for you too. But what they won't do is install the fire extinguisher and install the evacuation signs on the back of the bedroom doors, and they also won't do the sign off for the fire and safety practitioner for you. So again, if you work with the HMO property code, this is all part of our service. This is what we do for you. You're going to get a nice little certificate from the fire and safety man to say congratulations, your house complies, give this to your insurance company. As all that's going on, furniture's coming in, IKEA are dropping stuff off, the good guys are dropping fridges off and washing machines. It's actually quite an exciting time, this, because things are starting to move fast again, right? The team are quite efficient when it comes to putting these furniture packs together and in, and the last few have looked absolutely insane. Like Joe and I were out on Saturday and we popped into a property that the team had, ordered all the furniture themselves, set it all up themselves. And just one of the moments where you kind of walk through and you smile and you're like, they do a great job. And I don't think my team actually listen to the podcast, but if you do, guys, congratulations, because you do an incredible job and I'm very, very proud. Especially when I go to these houses and they just look incredible. So you got your furniture in, you got your fire safety sign off. You now, potentially, if you're not going to do this on your own mobile phone to save some funds, we'll bring a professional photographer through. We use Crew Creative to do all of our photography. They'll come through, take heaps of photos, send you them. Next thing is you take them photos, you put them online, you market your rooms and you fill them. Two things happen now. You provide beautiful, quality, affordable accommodation to the market. And for your efforts, you make monthly cash flow and you build wealth twice as fast as everybody else who's just building standard 4x2s and trying to save tax, because that's like a really good strategy. Can't even say it without. You think Apple and Tesla and Google and all these companies don't earn more money or don't want to grow the businesses because of the tax that they have to pay? Still blows my mind that people want to invest to save tax instead of just investing to build a wealth base, make more and more money and pay the tax in it. So what? That, like, my tax bill was huge this year. Did not like it at all, but it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing because it means we're making money. It's just never nice handing that much money over to the tax man. There's ways you can use the structures that you've got to minimize it. In fact, it looks like the amount that I do have to pay to the taxman is a lot less than what I first thought, because we're structured in a certain way to minimise them tax requirements or tax payments, or what's the name? I can't even think. Hate tax. Alright guys, hope that helps. That is my step-by-step process, end-to-end process for new build construction and specifically HMOs. Hope it helped. If you have any questions, as always, reach out to me, Neil at the HMO Property Co, or hit me up on Facebook, social media, whatever is your medium. Love to hear from you. If you've got any questions, just reach out. Cheers guys. Oh, and remember, every master was once a disaster. Every winner was once a beginner.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you can stay up to date with all cash flow positive property updates.